Frak, this podcast, come and listen to us talk about Battlestar Galactica. It's a show that we're talking about. All right, ready?
Yeah, I'm just more obnoxious about it, whereas you're well spoken.
Yes, very much so. Oh no, I had it. No, did I not? I had the comments ready. I had them ready, Vera. Where did they go? They were here.
And the fact that you are now freaking out about it now means
there was time now
that this will be the intro.
No, don't do that.
Yes.
I had it. I hate you so fucking much. Well, hello, interwebs, and welcome to the Frak This podcast, not the Jumpgate podcast for sure. I am your rapturous host, Jesse Gender, and I'm joined as always by...
It's Vera Rapturous.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How's it going?
I'm alive. It's been a week. We don't need to get into it, but if listeners just know we record these 2 episode weeks in advance, so just think back what happened 2 weeks ago and the week Vera and I have probably had, as all of you probably did.
Yeah, we do not need to deal anymore with that.
No,
I don't want to.
No, but it's been. I'm here. I did see a good movie though.
Oh, really? What'd you see?
We were talking about this before, and I said I want to talk about it on the podcast. The Long Walk was...
Oh, yeah.
I went and saw it. I will not spoil this movie, but I went to it expecting it to be like a Hunger Games kind of thing, like, oh, they're all going to go after each other. I did not expect it to be one of the most sincere and like break my heart movies that I have seen in a long time, to the point that it probably will end up on my favorite of the year list. Like right next to Sinners, that level of good.
Nice.
It is really, really, really phenomenal.
It's on my I hope I get to it list, but that list is ever growing and I never have time.
Yes, well, keep it on your list, especially if you get to the end of the year and you're looking for movies to watch. Like I really cannot praise The Long Walk enough. It is like I cried, like I got tears in my eyes several times.
Well, we'll see if I can get to it. Today's my kiddo's birthday.
Hey, how old are they?
14.
Oh, 14. I don't remember 14.
They made their own cake.
Better than me. Even better than me.
It was 4 tiers, 4 layers.
Of course.
Black fondant.
Black fondant? What is black fondant? I don't even know what black fondant is.
Fondant is just as opposed to like standard icing, it's like this sort of heavy, it has the consistency almost of Play-Doh. You sort of lay it on. It's what you get on wedding cakes a lot of the time. It's why they look so smooth.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it was black, meaning there was a lot of black food dye in it.
That's really funny. Sorry, I'm trying to look up a picture, but my computer is being weird, so I will just have to trust your advice. What's that? Why are you being weird?
All right, like, you know what? Do you have the Discord open?
I do.
I will send you an image of the cake.
All right, one sec. Oh my god! Oh, that's really good. It's a very gorgeous looking cake. I would definitely have some. I like how it's slightly toppling over.
Yeah,
got a Leaning Tower of Pisa vibe going on.
Well, that frustrated them. The official excuse for that was that the floor is slanted, which means that the oven is slightly too. So when the cake was in the oven to bake, it was just like ever so slightly
just tilted. Yeah.
Tilted. And so
that makes it more. It's more interesting that way.
Whole thing has a Leaning Tower of Pisa thing going on now. Yeah,
I can appreciate that. Well, you know who also had a hand in making that cake? The Captain.
The lack of confidence on that one was impressive.
Well, we're talking about the Battlestar Galactica episode, The Captain's Hand, today. But let us get into some comments from the episode, Scar R R.
What is wrong with you?
Many things, Vera.
I know.
Many things.
Oh, I know.
Amy Rose from 1997 says, quoting me, says, I don't want to spoil Vera. And they say, I'd spoil Vera, winky face.
Please do. I have a PO box listed as well as my PayPal account by all means.
There was several comments making fun of the fact that I called it the Jumpgate podcast yet again instead of the Frak this podcast.
Yeah.
And then I also people making fun of the fact that I said Raptor instead of Raider, and reminding us all of the fact that I would constantly get Sinclair and Sheridan confused in Babylon 5.
Actually, when I was editing this episode, not only did you call Raiders Raptors, you also called Vipers Raptors.
Everything's a raptor.
You just you want everything to be a raptor.
Everything. You're a raptor. I'm a raptor. Everyone's a raptor. We're all raptor here. I'm a raptor. I don't know. I'm going to stop that. Anyways, the Bitter Fig 9903 says, something I like about this, speaking of the episode Scar, is the full circle from the miniseries. Starbuck then ripping into Ty for being a drunk before doing heroic flying in the end. Here, Starbuck is the drunk, Kat the hotshot ripping into her, and ultimately the heroic pilot in the end. Which is like a nice full circle there. Again, she kind of shows how Kat kind of became more like Starbuck in that sense. Raza Tao says, IDK if there's a god, but the devil surely exists, and Jesse's on their payroll. Which is true. I am devil's advocate.
Yep. You're a workaholic.
Yep. So this is actually relevant to this episode, but Yum Yum Podcast says, you'll be thrilled to know that Battlestar Galactica actually does put scenes and takes that weren't in the show into their previously on segment. This will actually become relevant for the episode 17 of the season, so keep an eye out for that.
I noticed that. They gaslit me. I was like, wait a minute. What?
Wait, I didn't catch this because I don't watch the previously ons. I sort of do whatever.
Okay.
Well, let us get into our recap of the Captain's Hand. This will just jump right into this with the previously on.
So in the previously on, the last clip from the previously on is Adama having a conversation with Ty about assigning Garner as the new commander
I did see
of
that.
the Pegasus.
Yes, I do remember that.
Which is a scene that didn't appear. And I was left wondering, wait, what? Because I remember asking, I could even tell what episode it was from, but I remember asking you by the end of that same episode, do we know who's commanding the Pegasus now? And apparently we did. They just cut it and then reused the footage for this.
It's like, we totally told you back then. It was definitely this Garner guy.
Sneaky buggers.
It's okay. You don't need to remember him for too long.
Wow.
They Pegasus captains, just like the red shirts of Star Trek.
Actually, you know what? Can we hold and can I bitch about the title for a hot minute?
Yeah, sure.
The Captain's Hand. None of the major players in this story are captains.
Yeah, I guess it's like a metaphorical captain, like the captain of a ship. So like
I get that, but it's just kind of funny. It's like, well, that's a commander. We're about to find out that Lee became a major.
I was like, Lee was a captain until this episode.
So just nobody's a captain here.
Yeah.
But, okay, sure, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it's metaphorical. It's like Star Trek. You head the ship, you're a captain, I guess. Which I guess it should be true. I don't know how I don't know how the military works. Like, I didn't even know the difference between an enlisted and an officer for the longest time. So yeah, it's like always threw me with like O'Brien and Star Trek being like, I'm an enlisted man. And I'm like, what does that mean? I don't know what that means.
It means no respect, is what
yeah,
that
pretty
means.
much. No respect. We get no respect. Well, let us get into our recap officially now. We start on the Pegasus, which is doing Raptor training exercises. Raider, Raptor, Silent Raider, Raptor training exercises.
Raptor. It actually was Raptor this time,
Now I'm
but now
questioning myself.
yeah, now you're just second guessing everything.
Yes, yes. Raptor training exercises, and they're in a binary star system, which is messing with their Dratus. What's interesting, and I forgot, I should have looked up his title uh, in command. The guy who is piloting the first Raptor that we see here is played by an actor titled, his name is Kevin Smith, Kevin Smith. I think that's how you say his name. And I know him because he is basically second in command of the military side of the expedition in Stargate Atlantis. So he's a recurring character in that show. So,
all right.
So I was just like, oh, hey, it's him, which is interesting because this would have been airing at the same time. Like I remember as a kid, the the show lineup that they would have on Sci-Fi Channel was Stargate SG-1, Stargate Atlantis, and then Battlestar Galactica. So like Atlantis would have aired like right before this, so it was just a nice little tie-in.
That is funny.
Anyways, we then cut to probably your favorite moment of the episode, which is Apollo sleeping with D in the Viper pilot quarters. Yep, waking up naked with her.
Not only just that, but like the doors being banged on, because I get like, they put the sock on the door, be like, nobody come in, and people are outside like, hey, can we get in our damn room yet?
Yep, exactly. So yeah, they're officially together. We do learn it has been 1 month since last episode. Lee is not fully recovered. We still see he has some soreness and like a wound from his bullet wound from last episode. But is at least up and about. And he has been assigned to what is now being referred to the Beast, aka the Pegasus. The Galactica is called the Bucket, and Pegasus is called the Beast by the crew. So
lovely. And yeah, I hate this.
Yeah, no rant.
Well, I'll no. Like no, it's a waste of my energy at this point. I will point out, this does the thing of like they wake up together and the dude gets dressed and she just stays naked.
Yeah,
like there's no
can't get dressed. No,
there's no nudity on display, but like she just never, like the camera is like just here, like just above where it would be exposing nipple. And look, I gave a pass to this nonsense for 6 because it felt very rooted in both her characterization in general, and especially for Head 6 with Baltar's mental construct of her. I gave it a pass with that. But now you're doing it with somebody where there isn't really a reason to be doing this with her. And so now you're just going, hey, it's a naked woman, and stop.
Yeah.
Please stop.
It's just dudes writing TV shows, especially in the 2000s. Yep. It'll peak with Game of Thrones. Don't you worry.
Yeah. And look, you know me. I'm no prude. I'm masturbating right now, in fact. But
it's true, she is. Yeah. She's doing she does that every episode, listeners. Just so you know.
It's true. I edge the entire episode, and as soon as we stop recording, I come.
Jesus Christ. I don't know if like listeners consent to that, Vera. Jesus Christ. Watch, immediately half our listenership is gone after this episode. Just you late.
How would you want
or doubles?
I was gonna say, how would you want to bet it doubles and they request a live stream feed of just underneath my desk?
Jesus Christ.
Anyway, like I don't have a problem with nudity, but it's just it has that ick factor of like guys thought it was cool to have the chick just be naked in the scene.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what it is. That's all it is.
Yeah. And this is also where we note that in the interim, Lee got promoted to major.
I was going to mention that.
Did a lot of real important work while he was recovering from being shot.
Like being a Nepo baby.
Yeah.
Very, very hard work being a Nepo baby.
I mean, I think getting a promotion while you're in recovery from getting shot while not on duty is
Hmm.
kind of the epitome of Nepo baby promotion.
Hmm. I mean, to be fair, he did try to help in that situation, but
He did, and like I'm not even saying he doesn't deserve the promotion. I'm just saying like you couldn't have given it to him like after he did a thing as opposed to just got shot in
yep.
a restaurant.
Yeah. But by not even the bad guys.
Yeah, in friendly fire.
Yeah.
Sure, have a medal and a promotion. Why the fuck not?
Yep. Well, we do learn, like I said, that he has been assigned to the Pegasus. It's a temporary assignment as of right now. He's planning to be back again in a couple weeks. And Starbuck has also been assigned over there and has been driving Garner, who is the new commander of the Pegasus, up a wall since she's took over company training there. So,
Yep.
yep. Well, we then cut to down on the flight deck of the Galactica, and the chief and Callie are sort of like, well, Callie tells the chief that they saw something moving inside one of their shipment crates, and the chief kind of stupidly goes in. Callie's like, "Yeah, we don't know what this is. Do you sure you want to go in there?" And Chief's like, "Yeah, sure. Who cares if
Sure,
it's a
give me a
Cylon?"
flashlight and I'll just bungle my way in. It'll be
Yeah, could be a
fine.
Cylon, but who cares? Anyways, inside they find a pregnant girl who asks, "Is this a Galactica?" and asks after Doc Coddle.
Yep. And
Yep.
I immediately guess where this is going,
Mm-hmm.
and I hate it.
I don't.
I'll kind of tip ahead of time. I don't necessarily think this was the worst handled thing in the world, but it's one of those things that I think would have been something I was more willing to engage in at the time it came out.
Mm.
Way less so now.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where recognizing where this is when it came out, because it was spoilers, listeners. This is an abortion episode, but this was obviously very well written, very much written well before the repeal of Roe v. Wade in the United States. So like we'll get to it, but I think my overriding feel on it is the same as yours, where it's like I actually feel like this doesn't handle this idea very badly and actually kind of is fine for the era in which it was written and handled it decently well enough. However, had this episode come out today, I think its handling would have been um problematic at best. But again, that's within the context where we're at in society right now. And so it's like it's hard to
Yeah.
ding it for having problematic, like it's not problematic when it came out, but it would be problematic if you had the same
I
episode with this. You know what I mean?
I think it's a little bit from when it came out, but like my exhaustion with the premise has to do with now, not
Yeah,
then.
I will get into it. I don't. We'll get into it because we'll get to the end, and I'll point out what my contemporary problems with the episode would be, and maybe it'll still backfill as being problematic in the past. But I don't know. I think there's conversation to be had about it. Anyways, but we have to get to that context first. Anyways, we go back to the training exercise, and one of the raptors starts getting a weird message. They think it's a distress call, and so they declare an emergency, and they send a message back to the Pegasus, but the Pegasus cannot understand their message. Their transmission is garbled, and Gardner comes in and learns from he sort of watches as this transmission comes in and sees that the two raptors, not raiders, two raptors blip off the mat. So now they've lost two raptors.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So Lee now reports to the Pegasus. Starbuck seems a bit mean to Lee. She says, like, don't flatter yourself. I was just in the neighborhood when he says, like, oh, did you come to see me or whatever? Because they're both going up to report to Gardner at the same time. And Garner sort of reveals that they've just lost contact with two raptors, which Starbuck is surprised to hear. And Gardner chews her out for it, saying, if you were actually on the flight deck doing your training exercises, you would have known about this. So Starbuck, kind of annoyed and chewed out by her commanding officer, leaves. And we learn that they disappeared, the two raptors, from Dratus about an hour ago.
So Garner is played by John Hurd, who I guess folks from our generation will probably best know as Kevin McAllister's dad from the first two Home Alone movies.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Ah, I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah. And if you're a connoisseur of 80s weirdness, he's also in Cat People, which I
No
would
idea what that
recommend.
is.
I would recommend both versions of that movie.
Huh.
I think the original was the 50s, and then there was an 82 remake, very different from each other, both weird, the 80s one especially.
Fair. Okay. All right.
But
Yeah.
yep, he's in that. Those are like he's one of those guys who's kind of always been around, but those are the two things I know him best from.
Yeah, I remember seeing him in a bunch of different things, probably from this when I was younger, you know what I mean? It's like, oh yeah, that guy, I recognize him. He's the guy from the thing that I saw before. So yeah, one of those just reliable character actor dudes. Um, but yeah, we then have Starbuck going down to yell at the Pegasus pilots, and basically say like, why do I learn from Garner that this has happened, that we've lost these two Raptors? I should have been told. And the pilots basically say like, well, it's been made clear that discussing flight deck situations with anyone outside of Pegasus isn't allowed. And she learns that that was Garner's rule.
Well, they you say she learns, she comes to that conclusion
Mm-hmm.
because like she says, who says nobody says a damn thing. She says it's Garner, it's Garner, isn't but
Mm-hmm.
like again, nobody will tell her that.
Yes, and she says, so barely competent and paranoid. Hell of a combination. So,
Yep.
yep. So she's not a big fan of Garner. And speaking of, we cut to Garner in the captain's ready room, or where office, whatever you want to call it, and with Lee, and he basically says, "I have a problem named Kara Thrace." And Lee sort of tries to defend her, saying, "Hey, she's one of our best pilots." And Garner's like, "Well, no one ever cuts us any slack. Well, that doesn't mean we should cut her slack. No one ever cut us any slack in the engine room." And he sort of
Yeah,
makes this big. Yes, he
because
was
he
it.
yeah, he came from like the engineering deck.
Yes, so he's an engineer. He calls it. I think they're called snipes versus viper jockeys, which is kind of a fun little terms. But yeah, he makes this big speech about how he kind of views running the Pegasus, where it comes out of his ethos as having been an engineer. Like everything is finely tuned, everything is done in the proper way and the proper order, and people could learn a thing or two from the snipes, the engineers like us, essentially. So very
Yep.
meticulous. Everything fits into their proper place, and everyone does exactly what they're supposed to do on time, kind of guy.
Yeah, the kind of thing that doesn't really have allowances for,
Personality and
yeah,
deviation and improvisation.
yeah, the way people are.
Yes,
Like
exactly.
that works great when you're working on machines.
Hmm.
You're not just dealing with machines now though, dude.
Yes. So then we cut over to Roslyn, and we meet Roslyn's new assistant, Tori, played again. I mentioned this last episode by Rekha Sharma, who is an actress who I do really like. She also appeared in Star Trek Discovery in a brief but very memorable role on that show. So really do like her. She's a lot of fun. And she will play a bigger role in this show, is all I will say. But we do get to meet her here first for the first time. And yeah, she's basically just playing the assistant. She's talking with Rosalind about how she's doing in the polls for the upcoming election. She's doing pretty well. She's got the presidential bid has the her presidential bid has the support of both the military and the civilian fleet. And Rosalind kind of makes a joke. Well, it makes sense when your only real rival is a convicted terrorist, referring to Zarek.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. We then cut over to Tom Zarek, basically at first it seems like he's talking to himself, but then we realize who he's actually talking to in a second. But he's like, I am capable of leading this fleet. I think it would be great, and I even had a chance of winning before Roslin became a prophet. And so I cannot win. You, however, and he reveal that he's talking to Baltar, can win. So
Yeah. So I wasn't thrilled realizing that we're gonna be having a
President
campaign
Musk.
season arc
Yeah.
because I guess it's just been so far out of my mind. I had completely forgotten that like that was one of Zarek's conditions that he managed to arrange for that that she'd serve out the remainder of Adar's term and then there'd be elections.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess just because for so long, not that I actually thought she was going to die, but just for so long, the show's been having the emphasis on her health. The fact that once she got better, she'd have to campaign hadn't occurred to me.
Mm-hmm. Nope. Yep. It's definitely a thing.
Yeah. And I just, in some ways, I kind of, just broadly speaking, I kind of feel about that as a plot line, kind of similar to how I feel about the abortion plot line, which is there's nothing wrong with it. But again, I feel like the show is ignoring its much more interesting, big, strange ideas in order to just do one to one.
America
This is,
politics.
yeah, this is stuff we just have here.
Yes. Again, we're very close. We're almost at season
Yeah,
3. We'll get through it together.
yeah. And look, I'm not saying shows like this can't tackle contemporary things, or can't even do it allegorically, or and this isn't even bothering to be allegory. But
Mhm.
like, I'm not saying shows can't do that. It's just that what was interesting to me about the show wasn't this.
Yeah, yeah, no, I get you. I get you. Well, yes. Zarek makes a basically an argument that like you to Baltar, like Baltar's kind of like, I don't know if I'm really the one people would want. And Zarek says, well, no, you're already pre-sold as a candidate as a vice president, so people know you can handle the office. At least they assume you can. And also people crave the comfort of a scientist over the ravings of a madwoman, as he sort of implies about Rosalind.
Yeah,
Um,
he's picked his framing for her
yes.
for sure.
Yes. And Baltar sort of notes, oh, and I'm sure you'll just step aside. And he says, hey, I'm just happy to back a man of true conviction, a man who will remember his friends.
Yeah.
So,
So
yep.
it's just a whole scratch my back, I'll scratch yours dealy.
It's like I can't win, but you can, and I can at least have a guy who owes me one. So,
Yep.
yep. We then cut to Apollo talking to Starbuck, excuse me.
How many Starbucks does it take to screw in a light bulb?
Mm-hmm. And also, well, sorry, I framed the beginning of the scene badly. Starbuck is talking to the Pegasus pilots, and they're all kind of making fun of Gardner, kind of like having jokes at his expense, and Starbuck sort of leading it. But then Apollo comes in and sort of chews them all out, saying, hey, we have 2 missing Raptor crews. That's what matters. So knock off the schoolyard crap and do your jobs. We need to think outside the box. That's what you do best, Starbuck. And I want to know anything that might help, any personal quirks, anything like that to help us find them.
Yeah. And like, again, I do not envy Lee this situation, which is that I get why the Viper pilots are all kind of ticked off, Starbuck especially, but also like, we need a command structure. This is what it currently is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's basically coming in being like, hey, like, we got a shit to deal with. Like, let's like focus up, get some discipline in here. You can't be doing that shit, especially at this moment. So,
Yeah.
yep, yep, yep. We then cut to Coddle and Adama talking about, talking with, well, first they're talking about her and then they go over and talk to her. This girl who came in on the crate, whose name is Raya. Um, and basically, we learn that she's 4 months pregnant. She's 4 months pregnant. She's a Gemini's girl. And the Geminis have issues with abortion. So they do not approve of abortion in any way. And so Coddle reveals that he's been kind of doing this on the DL for a while. It's like, I hear a girl is on her way, I do my work and then leave. I don't ask questions. Um, which again makes me like Coddle even more. Just good guy. So yeah.
Yep. I'm all in favor of Coddle.
Especially what he does later on, which I also really like. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, Adama sort of says, well, you're going to start asking questions. Then he goes over and starts to talk to Raya. And basically just like, yeah, I've just come to talk. I'm not here to change your mind. Your parents are worried about you. They contacted me through the Gemini representative. But then Raya points out is like, do not send me back. You know what my parents would do to me. And Dama points out is like, oh, well, you're a stowaway on a military vessel. But then Coddle, who's sort of standing in the background, speaks up, was like, what she is a victim of political persecution. She could apply for asylum. And then Adama gives him this look like, dude, you're not helping the situation, my friend. And Coddle sort of skulks off, and then Raya goes, that's what I want. I want to ask for asylum. Again, love Coddle. Great.
Coddle is great.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, yep.
Don't love this situation, especially because like I think maybe like again, a big part of my exhaustion with this has to do with just like the reality in which we currently exist,
Mm-hmm.
not this show's fault. That having been said, I do find myself thinking it would have been really interesting if the arguments against abortion didn't immediately leap to religion. Now, like
Mm-hmm.
I understand that there aren't too many ways to justify a um an anti-choice stance other than religion because there aren't a lot of logical reasons to do that. But it's just again, it feels kind of lazy, just not only tackling a real world issue, but also going pretty much one to one with having it be the exact same reason.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
That I get. I don't necessarily disagree. I mean, that's kind of the big critique of Battlestar Galactica in a lot of ways, in that it's like in terms of its politics, it is very clearly a one for one of America in a lot of senses. So I mean,
Yeah.
like, just I've taken that as read. What I kind of do like is that, like, while that the religious angle on it is a factor in this episode, certainly, it plays into something larger, which is the political campaign aspect, and how, like, this is less about like the actual issue at play and more what it means for politics in that sense. And then also, when the ethical issue is discussed, it's really not about the religious aspect of it.
It's not. So it's going to come at it from a different angle later, although I'm going to have a slight issue with that too when we get there.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, for me, I don't necessarily hate it. Like, again, yes, it is a lazy kind of one for one, which is Battlestar Galactica's MO in this regard. But I don't mind it because it comes at it from another angle that I find to be more interesting, and that's just sort of a backdrop to it. So,
All right.
um, well, speaking of, we get Roslyn, who is talking with the Gemini's representative, and also Adama and Tori are there. And the Gemini's representative is arguing, well, under Gemini law, the girl is still property of her parents, which
Yeah, I
is,
wrote that down.
yeah,
God damn, man.
yeah.
And like that's again kind of speaks to a little bit of the laziness. Like not only are we taking the religious perspective, we're going like with the harshest view
Mm-hmm.
angle of it. We're straw manning the position. Like this is against our beliefs, this is against our laws. She is property of her parents. Like not that I'm saying there's
There's
look,
definitely there is 100% precedent for that. To be fair.
no, I get that. And I guess I'm just kind of if you're going to tackle this issue, I find it less helpful if you're going to be this straw manny. Now, like again, I get why it happened because the actual arguments this woman is making aren't really relevant, and the show's going to move on from them pretty much instantly. But at the same time, it just sort of it lends to the overall sense I have in my gut of like I would rather you hadn't.
I guess so. Again, it's just one of those, like, I'm not hung up on it, I guess, too much. But
All right.
yeah, it's just like I don't disagree, um, but yes, the Gemini's representative, she's basically arguing is like we should let this be dealt with on her own ship under her own laws, like by her parents, like deal with it that way. Um, but Roslyn argues, like, well, there are broader implications of this. Abortion is still legal today because it was legal under colonial law. Um, and the Gemini's representative sort of goes at it from a political angle and saying, well, I see it as obscene, and you cannot equivocate on this if you want our support in the upcoming election. So it then becomes more about a political play rather than on any sort of moral basis or a legal basis.
Yeah.
So, yep. And then Roslyn says, I am not banning abortion. And basically, like, I forget her exact line, but she kind of has a very strong line towards the Gemini's like representative, and like sort of pushes,
Well,
like, sends her
not
out.
not to her face. She does. She says like, "We'll take this under advisement." And the instant the Gemini's representative is out of the room,
Mm-hmm.
she says, "I'm absolutely not doing that."
Yes. Well, Reka Sharma leaves, and Adama has a quick line of like, she's not Billy. So there's a little like, yeah, she's not as good as Billy, damn it. But Adama sort of sits down with Roslyn and more kindly says, like, I hate to say this because it's a political issue, but he like points at the number, or he signals to the number of people left in the fleet. It's like that number doesn't go up very often. And then Roslyn sort of argues, well, I fought for a woman's right to control her body my whole career. But then Adama sort of argues, well, like there's that thing that you keep thinking of, that thing you told me when we first, made this fleet way back in the miniseries. If we want to save the human race, we better start having babies.
Yeah, which I knew was going to come up.
The sort of practical realities of the situation. So,
Yeah.
yep. We then cut to Starbuck. She is sort of like trying to figure out what happened to the Raptors. And so she gets the last transmission transcript. And she sort of figures out based on some like fragments of words that what they were trying to say was they received a distress call from someone and went out to find them. Or at least that's her running theory.
Yes.
So Lee takes this idea to Gardner, and Gardner immediately sort of like belittles it, saying like, well, it's good she finally has a theory considering she's the one that lost them, the Raptors. And Starbuck's like, what the hell? It's like, and he's like, they were out on your training mission. If you weren't boozing and sowing mutiny, you'd have been able to deal with that. And then he also sort of throws back in her face like one of the lines that she had, making fun with, like, sort of joking about him with the pilot's like, you don't think I know what's happening on my own ship? So
yeah, he brings up the incompetent and paranoid line.
yes. And she says we were just venting and it's accurate essentially, and so he restricts her to quarters. So
Yep.
Yep.
So Starbuck is being Starbuck with a dude who has no patience for Starbuck.
And he has this really ripping line. He's like, you're Adama's pet. Let him deal with you. So,
yeah.
Yep. So then we cut to Starbuck is not in her quarters. I thought she was restricted to quarters, but she's in the locker room, weirdly enough. It was just a weird place to stage this.
Yeah, they don't really deal with where she was supposed to be.
Yeah. But anyways, she's in there doing push-ups, and Lee comes into the room and says, you've been on board 4 days and you're already screwing things up. Yeah, it's like, oh, what are you just here to keep the loudmouth disobedient frack up Kara Thrason line? And Lee sort of gets angry. It's like, those guys are running out of the air. Try to help if you could get your foot out of your ass, essentially. And they basically have they kind of have this big argument. It's like, you keep fracking up and I have to keep cleaning it up, referring to Starbuck. And he's like, oh, life is so hard for Adama. And he's like, yeah, it's you mean since I got shot? And he's like throwing it back in Starbuck's face that she was the one that shot him, and she's clearly still guilty about it because she sort of skulks on that line.
Yeah, it's very obvious that over the last month they have not
talked about it.
Yeah, they have basically avoided each other.
Yes, and that a lot of this animosity comes out of the tension from that. So, which I like, because this scene, just to say it, like, this scene was starting to teeter on like both of them just being assholes to each other in the way that like made me dislike Lee way back when in the home episode where it was like teasing Starbuck or whatever. A bit more petulant than he is here. But what I like about this is like they both like are just being mean to each other because they do have this like unresolved animosity. Like there's an emotional reason for it that it's coming out in this way.
Yeah, it's more justified than it might have been otherwise. Yeah.
So I appreciated that. I was like, I basically trying to keep on the Lee redeeming himself train is essentially what I'm trying to do. So it teeters close, but it doesn't cross the line for me. So,
well, fair enough.
We then have another Raptor picking up wait, what is this? Yes. I think this is it. We have a Raptor picking up Buster, the original Raptors, like another distress call, and that it's a possible distress call from them. But then Lee sort of brings up to Garner that this might be Kara Thrace's theory that that they've been sending possible fake. Well, Lee just mentions like, oh well, the Silence may be running phony distress calls to lure people in, and Garner sort of susses out that this is Starbuck's theory. And based on that alone, he kind of turns it down. And Lee sort of argues, like, this isn't just my theory. This is, I believe in this too. I think it's a Cylon trap. But Garner's like, I'm going to jump the ship to where they are, to go and get our men. Yep.
Yep. And I can't remember if it gets brought up here or later by Admiral Adama, but like this is a tactic Cylons use. It is a known tactic.
Yes. And it is. We do go into the next immediate scene where Lee and Garner are both talking to Adama. Adama is directly talking to Garner and Lee sort of on the line. And Adama mentions like the Cylons have been known to lure people into a trap just like this. And Garner's like, I don't believe this is a scenario we consider likely. But then Adama asks Lee, like, do you concur? And Adama, to his credit, stands up against Garner and says, this is an opinion that I do not share. So Adama basically orders like, you can send 5 Raptors and that's it. And of course, Gardner, after they hang up, is pissed off and he says, thank you, Major. I'm sure your expertise is needed elsewhere, and sort of sends him away.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I do like that that Admiral Adama pretty much susses out immediately that this is Garner alone who is being stubborn about this. Because when Garner says like we don't think that's likely, Adama's just like we, and
mm-hmm.
that's when Lee pops in and is like, yeah, no, I agree with Starbuck that this is probably not. This is probably something we should avoid, and just leaves Garner on his own. Well, I disagree, and then he just pulls rank.
Mm-hmm. Yep, very much so. We then cut to Baltar, or Roslin going to see Baltar. And basically, Roslin is asking about the demographic projections for the fleet, basically asking, like, how are we going to do population wise over the next few years? And Baltar is kind of curious about this. And obviously, he's a little bit salty with her still. But he's, and Head Six is talking to Baltar, being like, oh, she must be desperate. She's saying our administration. But yes, he sort of like kind of throws in her face that's like, I made these calculations, made calculation of these figures 7 months ago. No one bothered to ask me then. I just had to factor in the Pegasus's numbers. But here's the information, but you don't even need to look at it. If we continue on our present course, the human race will be extinct in the next 18 years.
Yeah. So here's the bit that maybe calling it problematic was an overstep, but here's the bit that I think would have annoyed me even watching it at the time.
Mm-hmm.
To me, there is actually a really interesting conversation to be had, between the morals that you uphold and you want to stand for as a leader and as a society compared to the potential needs of the species. I think there is that is the factor that is unlike the world we live in now. We do not currently have a population problem. So that is the aspect that where I kind of perked up and I'm like, okay, it's gonna do a different thing. And I'm disappointed by the fact that basically next time we see Rosalind, this one conversation made up her entire mind.
Yeah.
Whatever conversation there was to be had about the nuances of this doesn't happen on screen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that I agree with. And I think that is a problem with the episode not dramatizing all of this stuff. That I agree with. Here's where it gets into my kind of problems with the episode. And again, this is where it's problematic by our current context and not by back then context. Like these issues were still around. I'm not saying they didn't exist, but they certainly weren't mainstream. In that this whole argument of like the species is dying is kind of the argument used by like the Elon Musks of the world of the white genocide bullshit and all the we have declining numbers and we need to have as many babies as possible and da 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 da.
Yeah, except with those arguments, there's usually a healthy dose of the right people need to be having babies.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. It is like we need more babies. Excuse me, asterisk white babies. We need more white babies. Like that bullshit. So in the context of that, this is a storyline that like had this released today and been put out into the world and done this, I would say it'd be a bit it'd be one of those where you would need to have been more careful about this kind of storyline to be able to frame it. Because like, yes, in the context of the show, just to make a point, like in the context of the show, yes, there is an actual potential like genocide that is happening that might lead to humanity being dead. Like it's literal text in the show. However, like presenting that kind of storyline within a world where like that is the justification used to like have this white supremacist weird ideology bullshit is actually a problem. So like these weren't conversations in the mainstream. Like I'm sure some Nazi sites and Nazi folks were still having these conversations back then, but they weren't as mainstream as they are now. And so I don't fault this episode for leaning into them accidentally because it wasn't like a weird thing people were super aware of at the time.
I agree with that. The thing that I found myself laughing about was that if this story was done today, it would be very Star Trek Strange New World season 3.
Yes, it would be 100% Star Trek Strange New World season 3. 100 fucking percent. God. But yeah, like here I think the problem, like that would make it problematic by today's standards, whereas by the standards that came out, I don't think this was problematic in that sense. But I do agree. I do agree with you in the sense that it's badly structured, in that there's a lot more nuance in these arguments that the show kind of like glosses over.
Yeah. I think I would still argue it's slightly problematic even at the time, because even as those kinds of arguments hadn't dipped their way into mainstream political discourse yet, it is still creating a scenario in which the fantastical specifics of the setting are resulting in a super clear and definite and correct answer to a problem that we have in the world that we exist in.
Yes.
And just that kind of framing alone
yeah
is a little bit off, I think, even at the time. Like, I know that intellectually you can make the argument and like, well, it's so clean cut for this because it's not the same experience, it's not the same things we deal with day to day. It's like, yes, but we are having arguments over the same rights now and presenting it as being, well, clearly this is the right solution, even if the reason that conclusion is reached has to do with your fantastical setting, still feels a little ugh.
What would have helped this, I think, is if it wasn't so very obviously like, well, we'll all die if we continue on our present course. And it had been a bit more like projections kind of show that like, well, we'll like, it's kind of marginal. Like we do need to get more babies out, but like we might be okay. Like if it had done that, there would have been a much better chance to have this sort of like gray area that Rosin would be struggling with.
I mean, the other thing is like, there's a lot of, I would have loved for her to get a second opinion. I would love to hash out the logistics on this. Like the number that Baltar gives, 18 years extinct, is that assuming that they don't find a place to settle down? Is that assuming they don't settle anywhere else? Is that assuming a comparable loss of life to what they've had since they've been taking on the Cylons every other freaking week? If they manage to avoid the Cylons, will that impact things? Like, what trends are you assuming will continue that may not actually continue that got you that number? And I would have actually really loved for this thing to get into the weeds on that, and it just doesn't. And then there's the added fact that, one, I understand that, again, Baltar is the science and numbers guy. I still feel like the impression we're left, regardless of the reality, the impression we're left is she only talked to him about this. And I like to think she's smarter than asking only him.
Yeah.
And there's the added thing that, given where things go with him, there's a distinct possibility he's lying to her.
Oh, for sure. 100%. What I will at least say, and I don't remember how much, but some of what you've discussed will come back up. Not necessarily in the context of abortion stuff, but like birth rate and like, the like different possibilities for how the human race goes and that That will come. Some of it will become textual. I don't know how overtly textual, but it will become so. So,
all right,
this isn't completely dropped. That being said, I agree, like completely. Like, if you're gonna have this, like, what this needed to be, honestly, is you could have dropped the whole fucking raptor thing, and I think this should have been the focus.
That's kind of where I'm landing ultimately. Is like, again, it's not, especially when you take into account when it was made, it is not the most badly mishandled attempt at this kind of storyline in this kind of show. But I think there's a whole lot of stuff that it could have gotten into if it wasn't in reality the B story to some raptors are missing plot.
Yeah,
that
for some
I don't
blah.
I'm sorry, I don't care.
Yeah, it's I mean it's a B story that like this should have been the A story, should have been the focus of most of the episode, and instead it's like the B story to a plot where it's just there to like move up Adama or move up Lee and resolve tension that we literally just introduced last episode. So
Yeah.
yeah. Um so yeah. Anyways, we then cut over to Rosalind giving a speech where she basically says she's been forced to make a difficult decision. If civilization is to survive, we need to repopulate the fleet. So she is making abortion illegal. That they will prosecute any doctor who performs the procedure.
Yes. By executive order. God, do I hate
Wee
those two fucking words in succession.
wee. And yeah,
Ugh.
this is another thing where again, it's not a problem of the time, but like having the principled, let's just say the aka more progressive one, liberal one, however you want to frame her, status quo liberal politician Roslyn, being the abortion is illegal one, and then we have the, as we'll see in later on the episode, we'll get to it later, but the Elon Musk kind of figure being the like science is good and I'll stand up for abortion rights kind of guy. That doesn't unfortunately read as accurate to our times. Again, that's not this episode's fault. They couldn't have predicted the fucked up bad fucking timeline that we live in now. But unfortunately, it doesn't like read as clear if you look at the dynamics as it they actually played
Yeah.
out in real life. So huzzah!
Whee!
So yeah. Um we then cut over to the Pegasus, where Lee has learned that they've just went to condition one because the Pegasus is about to jump because Garner decided to just order it regardless and ignore Adama's orders to try and go and save their guys. Lee, while running up to the bridge, basically tells Starbuck to get in a Viper because we're probably heading into a silent trap and you might as well just be there because you're one of our best pilots.
Yep.
Lee then confronts Garner and basically this is an illegal action. We have one of those classic standoffs where both Lee and Garner sort of order the one sergeant to arrest the other one. Lee like relieves Garner of command, and Garner sort of orders Lee put into quarters, and the sergeant sides with Garner. So,
Yep.
mm-hmm.
There's like this whole big pause that's like, ooh, who's he gonna arrest? And he says, come with me, Major. And yeah, and I do like the look on Lee's face, this look of like, oh, come on.
Mm-hmm. Because we've had this kind of moment before on this show, but it ended up in our character's side of things. Like I think Rosalind pulled one of these before with I think Lee present, where like Rosin's like, oh, are you gonna shoot soldier or not, or just let us go? And the soldier let them go. And here he doesn't get that lucky.
Nope.
So, um, but yes, we stay on the Galactica Bridge, where they learn that the Pegasus has jumped. And then we jump with the Pegasus, and they sort of find their two Raptors. They send out a recovery team, but the two Raptors find that the Raptor crews are dead. And as soon as they find that out, three Cylon-based ships who have impeccable dramatic timing, jump in at that exact moment and start nuking the Pegasus. And Pegasus is in battle, and they lose their FTL drive, so they can't just simply jump away.
Yep.
So, then we basically get. Oh, I thought you were about to say something.
I was just gonna say it's the one time the ship doesn't jump right before the missiles hit.
Yeah, exactly. So Lee comes back up to the bridge, basically saying to the sergeant, like, you got other things to do right now. And the guy's like, yeah, you're right. And Lee goes back up to the bridge, and Garner is basically not being a strong leader in the middle of this battle. And he's like, the FTL's down. They don't know what they're doing. I need to go down there. You have the con. And sort of leaves Lee in the lurch, being like, you're the commander who just left.
I didn't strike me as leaving him in the lurch. Like, the impression I got was Lee was this guy's basically saying to Lee, like, I know where I belong and it's not here. Take over. And Lee seemed on board with it. It didn't strike me as leaving him in the lurch at all.
Oh, I have a completely I have the completely different read then, because Lee like freezes up at the moment when he's like I have the con. Like there's this moment where Garner says, like, the way I read the scene was Garner basically saying, like, I need to go down there. And that may have been true. Maybe he was the only one that could have saved the FTL drive. Like, that may have been true. But it comes across as like Garner being like, uh, I don't want to be here. All you, Lee. Because Lee kind of gives like this moment of like, wait, you're going down there? You're going to leave V here? And then Lee has this like moment of freezing up. And then he's like, all right, I got it. All right, we'll go. You know what I mean?
I mean, like
That was my read on the scene.
he takes a moment to gather himself, but yeah, no, I think you and I have fairly different reads on that moment.
I mean, my read on it is basically the show being like, yeah, like this Garner should not do this. Like Garner's supposed to, as a leader, he's supposed to stay on the bridge and lead. So, like that was my take on what the episode was trying to say.
I mean, I don't disagree that that's what the episode was saying. I don't know. I think the way you are saying it makes it seem more like he was a coward who bailed, whereas my read was a bit more he realized he had no business being where he is and he went to where he could be more useful.
I mean, maybe, but I think it's a little bit of both. Like, is my kind of read. Like, he is being a bit cowardly here and kind of throwing it on Lee. And like, yeah, he's probably correct that he is the best person to do that job at that moment, potentially. But like, also, it's like in a moment of crisis like this, it's not the job of a leader to like run away like that. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh, I don't disagree. I don't know. I guess I just feel like your read on it was a bit harsher than mine.
well, that's fair. Get in the comments, everybody. Who's right? Me?
Jesus Christ.
Get in the comments. I need to know. Vote with your comments, everyone. Tell Vera that she's wrong and I am correct and should never be questioned in any and all things. Maybe I took that a bit too far. I gotta click. Anyways, we then cut to basically I'll just kind of yada 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 this. I mean, there's unless and just stop me as you go because this is just a kind of a whole long battle sequence.
Yeah,
Basically, yeah,
go for it.
basically takes over and does really really well. Like he's like maneuvering against like manages to like maneuver against one of the base stars and like get it knocked out of the fight, but then they're still kind of screwed because of the other two base stars. But he's doing really well considering the situation. So like good leader, leadership skills on his part and good battle tactic skills on his part. And then we cut to Garner, who is down in the bowels, and he basically sacrifices himself because he has to like go in and fix a thing inside the ship, but it means that that it's like venting air, and he just manages to fix the FTL and get the Pegasus his FTL back so it can jump away, but at the cost of his life because he runs out of air and is not able to escape.
Yeah, he runs out of oxygen before he's conscious just long enough to finish the work, but not long enough to get out.
Yes. And also Starbuck has some fun shooting down some Cylons. So
Yep.
That's basically the long and short of that scene. I thought it was a decently done scene, but it's fairly like, yeah, these are the beats. So
yeah, that's a solid descriptor.
Yep. Well, then we cut to after the battle, Lee talking to Adama. And Dama's reading over Lee's report of the situation. He says, you give Gardner a lot of credit. And Lee says, well, he gave his life to save the ship. And Adama says, well, Starbuck's report wasn't so kind. And Lee says, well, she had her perspective and I had mine. But then Adama says, well, off the record, what was Gardner's flaw? And Lee says, he was used to working with machines. Command is about people. And Adama says, remember that as you take command of the beast. Garner was my decision. His failures were my responsibility. Don't let me fail a second time. Congratulations, Commander. And Lee gets promoted to the commander or captain, one might say, of the Pegasus.
Yeah. Well, his rank is now commander. And like
Nepo baby time. Whee!
Look, this one's more earned, but it feels like the promotion to major that happened like between episodes was so that they didn't have to promote him 2 levels in one go.
Yes. Yes, that was very much that. My read on it is like, look, I see that this is justified and Lee did in fact kind of earn it. But there's definitely going to be some Nepo baby talk all over that fleet.
Oh, yeah. And deservedly so,
yes.
to be clear.
Yes. Like Lee did kind of earn it, but also
Yeah.
So yeah, he was also put in a lot of those positions to get to that position because he was a nepo baby in part. So
hmm Like here's the thing about nepo babies, and this is part of what people who get called nepo babies need to like get through their heads. Like I remember, for the most part, I like her, but I remember Jamie Lee Curtis kind of going off at the notion of a nepo baby, talking about how hard she worked, and then like with people like that, I just want to say, look, I'm not saying you aren't talented enough to be where you are. I'm not saying you didn't earn your way to get there, but you got your start and your initial opportunity because of who you are. Now, if I think it's true that in most cases,
mm-hmm.
a nepo baby placed somewhere where they don't belong won't advance and or will wash out. So
Mm-hmm.
like if you actually build a solid career from there, you probably actually have some skill. But that initial starting place was not earned. That was a cheat.
Yes. I'm trying to find the exact quote from him because I'm saying this as a compliment to him because I do know him, and he is a very sweet man. But Jack Quaid actually I think had the best uh, response to this. Let's see, yeah, here it is. So Jack Quaid was talking about like his mom, Meg Ryan. So Jack Quaid, for those who don't know, is the son of Dennis Quaid and Meg Ryan, both well-known Hollywood actors. Um, and he was asked about being a nepo baby and like his mom kind of talking about it. He says, I think she's just trying to say that in her opinion undermines my talent. I don't think it undermines my talent. I know that I work hard, and I know I've heard no way more than I've heard yes, but I also know that this industry is insanely hard to break into, and I had an easier time doing that than most. Both things can be true. I am a privileged person, but I also think I try to do my best. So
Yeah,
yeah.
which like and that is the take I can get behind. Because
Mm-hmm.
again, like most nepo babies with no talent, like if we're going to use Hollywood as the example, especially like they don't have careers after the first couple of years.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like they don't because they sucked, and everyone was
Mm-hmm.
like, "We gave you a shot, and you're shit." Uh,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
so if they're still around, it's because they're good.
Yes. And I, just to be clear to people too, just because I do know him, like Jack Quaid is a very sweet guy. I consider him very talented, and I do like his take on that. I think he's very well aware of that. Though I'll tell this story because I've told this story elsewhere, and it's very, very funny. So I did not real like I knew Jack Quaid from Star Trek Lower Decks, and he was in The Boys, so like I vaguely knew him, but I met him for the first time at Star Trek Mission Chicago, which is the Star Trek convention. And like both him and Tawny Newsom, the two leads of Lower Decks, as well as Mike McMahon, were big fans of my reviews of Lower Decks. So it was very fun. So they like invited me and they were like, "Hey, it's great to meet you." Like they were very excited to meet me and very, very kind. And I was sitting down with Jack and we were like having a very nice conversation. Um, and it was just this moment where and I just was like talking. I was like, "So what made you get into acting?" We were just having a conversation. He's like, "Oh yeah, my parents." I'm like, "Oh, who are your parents?" And he had this moment of like, "Oh." And I don't think it was like it was more just like, "Oh, you really don't know who my parents are. That's very sweet." Like I think it's considered it very sweet that I earnestly did not know who his parents were off the top. Like I knew who they were, but I did not know that he was their kid. He's like, "Oh yeah, my mom's like Meg Ryan," and I'm like, "Oh yeah." So I think he was like, "Oh, you actually like me for my talent." So I thought that was a very sweet moment. But yeah, he's a very, very nice man. Anyways, now that I have name dropped enough of my famous friends, um,
Yeah, are you done?
no,
Do you want to turn on
I
the
was just talking.
Roomba to pick up all those names you dropped?
Yeah, well, I mean, I was just telling this story to my good friend John Delancey, just the other day. We don't talk. Anyways, I'll stop. It's just funny. Um, we then cut to where were we? Do Rosalind talking to the Gemini's representative. Um, and the Gemini's representative is basically really going in on you need to persecute Rhea, the Gemini's girl. Well, calling her the Gemini's girl. Rosalind makes a point of saying she has a name. Her name's Rhea, and then argues she had the procedure done before I instituted the new law, which the representative is really pissed off about and really goes in on. It's like, you need a prosecutor, you need to do something. And Rosalind goes, "You have your pound of flesh, and I suggest you take your victory and move on."
Yeah, and also like I'm trying to remember To my memory, I might have to go back and check. To my memory, what Rosalind said would be prosecuted would be the doctors facilitating it, not the women seeking it.
Yes. Yes.
So it's interesting, but then again, also like a tiny bit going to the most,
Extreme
to the
trauma in any
harshest
position. Yeah.
version of this position that she's like, I want you to prosecute this woman.
Yeah. Again, it's a side note, but what I would have liked better is if like we got again, this should have been the focus. It would have been more interesting if we got the parents who were much more the religious fundamentalists, and then the representative was much more like, yeah, I believe in these views, but like here's the politics of the situation. I think that would have probably been a better way to go about it. So
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
been more willing to play like politics ball on the issue rather than being like a fundamentalist and had the parents sort of play that role if they were going to go that way. So, and then you could have also given the parents, like maybe even one parent was the really fundamentalist one, and the other parent was a little bit more, supportive or like had more nuanced thought on the issue. Like there are ways to go about it. So,
Yeah.
anyways, we then cut to Lee and Starbuck sort of hanging out on Galactica. And Starbuck sort of ribbingly is like, you're screwed, right? Becoming the commander of the Pegasus. And Lee's like, I could be even more screwed. You could be my CAG. And then Starbuck's like, I'm going to stay here and be Galactica's CAG. And Lee just, again, they're just ribbing each other. It's just like, you have fun with Ty early in the morning. He's a lot of fun. But then they get earnest. She says, congratulations, you really deserve it. And Lee says, I know why I was mad at you. You buck authority and get away with it. When I bucked authority once, I almost lost everything and it pissed me off. Doesn't make sense, does it? And Starbucks sort of says, you should hear the way my brain works sometimes. But then she asks, are we okay? And then Lee jokes with her, you have a brain? and then they hug and it's clear they're all good.
Yeah.
So,
Which
yeah.
like as far as resolving the thing is a fine scene.
Mm-hmm.
It's fine.
Yeah, it's cute. Like I said, it was cute, and again, speaks. I'm on the trying to redeem Lee train, so I thought this was a very good and self-aware version of Lee. He's like understanding his emotions and able to talk through them like an adult now, instead of a bratty teenager. So he's growing. He's growing.
Yeah.
um, we then have the final scene of the episode where the president is yet again giving a press conference. And the press sort of asks, do you think abortion has hurt you in the polls? And she sort of says yes, but then Baltar sort of stands up and sort of gives a speech and says, hey, the president may have lost some support in some quarters, but what I can say is that this is an extreme decision, but we live in extreme times, and the decision has been made in good faith. But then twist, but it is a decision I cannot in good conscience support. The Silents have no understanding of the word freedom, and every time you take one of our freedoms, we become one step closer to living like them. As the vice president, I have to follow your lead, but as president, I will not have to, and I'm hereby announcing my candidacy for president. And everyone starts yelling and asking questions as Head Six claps for Baltar as Baltar smiles.
Classic slow clap from Head 6.
Mm-hmm.
The
I liked it though. It was a good vibe. So like yes, it's a classic thing, but it worked. I did like it. So yep, it's Baltar versus Roslyn. So
Wee!
Elon Musk versus I don't know, I guess Hillary Clinton.
Oh,
Wee!
Are you trying to depress me? God,
look. Rosalind's better than Clinton or Kamala. I'm not saying she's great. She's still establishment politician lady, but she's definitely better than both of them. So, yeah, I would take a Rosalind over the two of them any day. So, but that's essentially the dynamic we've got here.
Yeah.
Whee! Well, that is the episode. I'm trying to think if I should do a spoiler minute. No. I mean, I could talk about some stuff here, but the people who know the spoilers know the spoiler that's going to be coming. So we'll get there.
Okay, then.
All righty. Yeah. What do you think, Vera, of the episode?
It's fine.
Yeah.
It again, much like the last few episodes, it feels more like it was a story built around trying to accomplish one or two things.
Mm-hmm.
Those two things being put Lee in charge of the Pegasus and have Baltar declare his candidacy against Roslyn. And then it feels like those were determined. Those are the things that need to happen by the end of this episode. Somebody write an episode where those two things are true by the end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. It's fine. It's a fine episode. I do wish the abortion plot had been given more focus. I mean, again, it's not bad. It's not like atrociously handled here, but it is sort of like
No.
a yada yada yada, here we go sort of thing. It's like not really delving into the issue as much as it could have, which is kind of disappointing because it would have been decent. I think they did a decent enough job with what they did use. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, the Lee and Starbucks stuff is also fine. Pegasus Commanders are basically the red shirts of Galactica at this point.
Yeah,
So
pretty much.
yeah, but I think that's funny. I'm always, I am kind of here for that, that sort of thing. So yeah, we'll get into next week's episode, which is finally next week's episode is still kind of a one-off. However, it does start finally arcing us in towards the larger plot again, and finally, not fully, but does start finally getting us into some things that you have been wanting this whole show. So
that would be lovely.
Yes. So here is where it starts to go. We're not fully there yet, but we're starting to pick up steam, I think, with the next episode. So we'll watch the next episode and you'll be like, this is a shitty episode, one of the worst I've ever seen. But
well, we'll see.
Yep. We're finally kind of getting out of the one-offs. So huzzah. All right.
I'm ready to be done.
Yes, we are basically there. All right, Vera, anything else?
Nah.
All righty then. Stuff time.
Stuff. Well, you can find my stuff by looking for Council of Geeks. Patreon is what pays the bills, and the main thing that supports is the Council of Geeks YouTube channel. I don't know what'll be up the week right before, the week after this comes out. My brain is fried. But new videos every Saturday on there. Plus, I guess 2 weeks ago, I also did a Wednesday video. I do those on occasion. But yeah, that's there. And there is also the Break Room of Geeks, my secondary channel, where I mostly do review content and talk about whatever I have listened to, read, played, or watched lately. By the time you hear this, I should hopefully be fully caught up on the entire terrible season of Star Trek Strange New Worlds. And also Alien Earth should be ending soon after this comes out. But I will have reviews up for those. Plus, I'll be sticking with Peacemaker. And yeah, that's what's going on there. Council of Geeks, you can also find me on Blue Sky, where I post infrequently. And when I do, it's usually like 3 posts in a row about completely unrelated things, because that is my brain. That is the geeky stuff. There is, of course, also the spicy stuff. And for that, you can look for Vera Wild. Wild is spelled WYLDE. And you can find increasingly spicy content on YouTube, TikTok.
Oh, you should check that out. You can find me at Jesse.
You gonna check it out again? See what else I put up there since last time you checked?
I was to say I haven't already. You can find me at
Good girl.
I have not actually. That's not saying I won't. Not saying I won't, but I haven't. You can find me at YouTube, where I do video essay style of stuff. If it is not up already, it will be up very shortly, while I have a very long dissection of Star Trek Strange New Worlds Season 3 and why it is bad and should feel bad. And everyone related to it should feel bad. But also using it to talk more about politics of the moment, as I try to do in all my Star Trek videos. So check that out. And I also have a secondary channel called Jesse Gender After Dark, where I do news, reviews, reactions. I am also reviewing all the same shows that Vera is reviewing. I am also on Patreon, which helps me pay my bills. I mentioned that first because I will have, almost assuredly at the time of you listening to this, 2 videos exclusive to my Patreon, at least as of the moment. One on why billionaires love Star Trek, tech oligarchs love Star Trek, and the other one that is already out as of this recording, why the Ferengi are some of the best aliens in Star Trek videos. So check those out. I'm really proud of both of those. And then I'm also on Nebula, so streaming service that houses my movie identities, as well as will have the show Subliminal that I directed an episode of that will be coming out sometime next year. So be checking that out. Beyond all of that, I'm on Instagram and Blue Sky, and I think that is everything. So anything else, Vera?
Nah.
Alrighty then. I hope y'all live long and prosper.
Be seeing you.